Thank you for joining me today on the Garbage Bag Girl podcast. This podcast is about all of us. It's about the things and the ways that make us feel pushed down and small. It is about how the smallest acts of kindness make the biggest impact each day. No one should feel like garbage, ever. Enjoy the show. Hi, this is Celeste. Welcome to the Garbage Bag Girl podcast, where we get to have Shanna, Coach Shanna for y'all, back with us today. We have been focusing on the healthy adult, and so far we've talked about the inner child, we've talked about the teenager, we call the adolescent, and today we're going to talk about the adult phase, which focuses in around age 25. The adult phase is the most interesting to me. The adolescent was most complicated. Adult, the most interesting, because I feel like we're supposed to know a bunch of things because we're adulting. But then we get out of sync and then we can't get back and all the things. And so, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
This
has been so great.
You're like a regular now.
Yes, I feel that.
A regular on the show.
I feel that. Thank you for having me again.
So the healthy adult, let's talk about that.
Yes, how often is it that we hear, I don't want to adult today, or I just don't feel like adulting? How many of us don't realize we're actually adolescenting? Is that a word?
You're making it
in
one.
Our adolescent.
You get to make it one.
We're in our adolescent, not wanting to get into our adult, right?
We're still almost throwing a fit because we don't want to do that. I don't want to adult today.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's some true feelings in there where the child phases, and then the whiny is the adolescent. So how my brain goes there, my trained brain goes there. How do we get into our healthy adult?
So first tell us, what is the healthy adult?
Yeah, so the healthy adult is the ultimate goal in the adult chair model. It is age 25 and older. That's when science says that our brain is completely developed or fully developed. So that's what they say, adulthood, right? If as children we were raised by caregivers, our siblings, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, who literally showed us how to feel emotions and process emotions, a lot of us would have been in our healthy adult around that time. But how many of us does that really happen to?
Yeah.
Right? So in our healthy adult, this is when we are grounded, we're centered, we're in our highest version of ourselves. This is our healthy adult. So I put together a list of characteristics there that we can bullet point for the healthy adult. And one of them is, this is where our conscious state is. Unconscious behavior is in our adolescent. Conscious behavior comes from our healthy adult.
So conscious meaning we're just more aware.
Intentional.
Right? Okay.
And awareness. Yep. We can be patient. We can have compassion. We can actually wait for a response. In adolescence, we react, emotionally react. In our healthy adult, we respond. So we gather information, we can be observers, we can start noticing, then we can create a response that we can come from a grounded and centered place.
So that's interesting because it means you can still toggle. Oh, that's my inner child, especially as you become more aware. Now, okay, I'm acting like an adolescent, like people make jokes about it, but you really are.
We really are.
So the trick is identifying and then kind of nurturing and getting back to the healthy adult, right? It's more about recognizing I get to do that now.
Yeah.
And by the way, people aren't as forgiving when you don't get back to it, right? It's
right.
When you're a kid, you're a kid. So we say, oh, that's a 6-year-old behavior and it's excusable. When you're a teenager, oh, we go to your room, slam your door. You're acting like a teenager. I mean, there's almost an excuse to the ages. Then over the age of 25, it's interesting because you're expected to act a certain way in your 20s and then in your 30s and then in your 40s. I just find that interesting, the perception of it. But really, we all toggle back to those places.
We do.
That we're feeling.
Yes.
So
we
that's,
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, in childhood is where our core wounds happen from 0 to 6. In adolescent, this is where our masks or our personas happen. It's where addiction takes place. And then we take those wounds from adolescent into our adulthood until we're ready to look at our patterns and our wounds. At that time, that's when our healthy adult can show up.
And it's why I think, like the word trigger, you always say triggers are our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get to identify, I always make the joke, I'm triggering because it's real and it just helps me process. Now I think, okay, what am I supposed to learn from what's triggering me? Because it's such a learning opportunity. It's not that triggers me, or I'm upset that it triggers me. It's a curiosity, because you always say, get curious about that. So I do. I'm triggering. Okay, let me get curious. Shanna says, get curious about this. And the facts. State the facts, Celeste. Don't make up the stories.
Right? Stories and
What's
assumptions.
Factual.
Yeah, stories and assumptions happen in adolescence. We are story busters in our healthy adult.
Story busters.
Yeah, we're story busters. Bust those stories.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, what is true today, right? Okay. Adolescent comes along and has been protecting us for a very long time. You know how our phones and computers get often updated? Even, like, you can't even move forward until it's updated.
Yeah. Software update alert.
Yep. Well, we haven't had that opportunity until now.
That's what we need.
Bloop.
Oh. Like we have these vacuums we got at home that they're round and they go, of course we have one on each floor, because why wouldn't we? And we named them. I'm going to tell you, we named them. But when they're done, they back themselves up.
They empty themselves.
They empty out, like letting it go, and then they recharge. And I always make the joke, I want to be the vacuum. Can someone just back me up to the wall? I'm going to unload my day, and then I'm recharging.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I know.
Today is the day.
Today is the day.
I am going to help you back yourself up and unload yourself and get back into your healthy adult.
Okay.
Oh, I love that.
Let's do it.
We have a Ruby and a Sammy. So
you do too.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, ours is Rip and Beth. If you're a Yellowstone fan, you'll appreciate the humor.
Yeah.
I'm like, does anyone turn Rip on? Really, Celeste?
Oh, Beth's confused again. She's over in the corner. She's stuck.
She's throwing a fit.
She's
always in teenage mode.
It's always.
And Rip has to stay in a healthy adult mode.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a vacuum that will stop when it thinks it's on the edge of a cliff.
That's mine.
And you get
if
notification.
It goes to the stairs and it knows to stop and turn around, because I think, is this going to be the time it's going to go over the edge? Mm-mm. It knows.
So these programs, we get to tell them what to do, and then they do them, right? So we can update them on our phones. For us, it hasn't happened yet until you know something like this program is a tool to help update our programming.
Okay.
Right? So
some of the healthy adult characteristics.
Some of the characteristics.
These are good.
Conscious. We live in present moment. Our adolescent lives in past or future. Right? And if triggers are emotional flashbacks, our healthy adult can come in and say, okay, I see you, but what's true today? Right? Thank you for showing up, trigger. I've got you now. What's true today?
Not the past.
That's
not
right.
worrying about what's happening tomorrow. What factually is true today.
Let's bust that story.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite question. Ask outside and get curious. Should we get curious? Let's get curious. Let's bust up this story. That's good.
Yeah. What's another one on your list? Story buster.
Responds. Feels emotions. Grounded.
Yes. So feeling our emotions, you can only process those emotions in your healthy adult energy. So when we're consciously feeling the sensations in the trigger that's coming up, that's how we process it.
Okay. So only on this list, only being in our healthy adult phase can we set boundaries, because they'd be healthy boundaries, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, we're trying to set boundaries as a teenager, which we know is, yeah.
Right. So I love that you
We all
brought
know
up
how
boundaries.
that's going to go.
I mean, I've done it. I've
Yeah.
tried to say, don't do that from an angry place or a hurt place, and the boundary doesn't stick very well. It actually gets mowed over.
Well, I don't think you're not sticking very well when you're doing that.
No.
You're fluctuating. I did that with my my youngest when she was a teenager, and she would be the one to call me out on it. You're not even sticking to anything you're saying. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm not, because I wasn't in a great place when I set that rule or that boundary. So now I'm the one toggling on it, which is not good to have your child call you out on it. But it was helpful, because she was basically saying to me, I need you to stick with some of this stuff.
No, that's just it. Sometimes we need each other to reflect the truth, the facts of it, right? Because we're not in it, we're not present. So if your child does bring it up, thank you, own it. In our healthy adult, we own it. Thank you for letting me know. I will do better next time, or I will work on that. So in our healthy adult,
you're right.
we
You
own
still are grounded. Thank you for the reminder.
See how well that goes. So much for that feedback.
That's not what I meant, Mom. So you talk about things we can do from our healthy adult, and the first one is masterful listening.
Masterful listening.
I need to get better at this.
Yes. So this is how we do it. You've heard of active listening?
Mm-hmm.
So active listening is exactly what you're doing right now. You're nodding your head. You're making eye contact. You're also saying mm-hmm or ah.
Okay.
So that energy keeps you present. When you aren't physically engaged in listening, then you're elsewhere. Your brain takes you elsewhere naturally.
So we use the actions to stay engaged.
To stay grounded. Yep, to stay engaged.
I do that when I'm tired and I was yawning. You and I were yawning before we started. And we're like, oh, we're going to need a yawn break. But when I start reacting and responding, my brain fires back on.
Yeah.
Which is super interesting.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Just took a second. I'm working on becoming a masterful listener.
I love it. Also, when we go and want to have a conversation with someone else, maybe it's one of those hard conversations. As a masterful listener, we're going to ask them, where would you like me to sit? Would you like me to touch you or not? We are literally asking them to set the space.
Oh, we talked about that when we talked about comforting a spouse or a partner.
Yes, set
and
the
they're
space.
kind of having an emotional moment. And I was like, what do I touch? And you said, well, not without asking, because touching can be also disruptive. Even a kind touch on the back.
Correct.
Can still be disruptive. So I appreciated that. Ask permission, or ask if they would like you to touch them. Ask if you should just sit still. Should you ask questions? Should you not ask questions? But remind them you're there.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
So I love, because it's needs based.
Yeah.
Instead of me making an assumption, oh, I'm being kind and gentle and I'm being a good listener, so here's what that looks like for me. That doesn't mean that's what it looks like for the person necessarily. They need you to be still.
Yeah.
And probably ask.
Yeah. Yes. That comes from our healthy adult. It's when we masterful listen and we prep a space for that conversation. Or if a coworker, if a parent, even if your child needs to cry and talk it out, literally ask them how you can support them.
What do you need from me right now?
Where would you like me? We don't want to bombard them with questions, of course. If they've already started processing their emotions, just sit in space with them. And don't touch, don't interrupt. It'll take about 90 seconds for them to process. And then we can ask, what do you need from me right now? And a lot of the times they don't know. Would you like a hug? Would you like me to touch your leg? Would you like a hand on your back? Then we can offer gentle suggestions. Because processing that emotion, they're moving energy, right?
Yeah.
When we're in emotional processing, a lot of the times we're not in our logic mind. We're in process mode. So we're moving energy through. One of the things that helps when we are processing is to put a stack of heavy books or maybe a pillow, something on your lap, or a beanbag of some kind.
Is that why people use weighted blankets?
Yes. That keeps us in our body.
We have those at the Christmas box house for some of the children that are very reactive.
Yep. So their emotions disassociate them.
I never knew really how to use them, like personally. But that makes a lot of sense. There's kind of it grounds you a little bit.
So knowing this information, how would you go about using the blankets with them?
With the kids, I wouldn't, but with myself, just because they have therapists and teams. But for me, I would know to use it. Like if my legs are jittery,
yeah,
probably just calm them down.
Yeah, that weight keeps you in your body.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Reflect.
Yes, this is part of masterful listening.
Yeah.
So if we don't know how to validate, this is the beginner step. To validate someone, you can literally say back exactly what they just said to help them feel heard.
So what I thought I heard you say is, would you do it that way?
Yeah. Do that for me right now.
And so what I thought I heard you say is you're becoming a mirror. I'm asking you I'm reflecting back what you just said to me.
And then you say, is that right?
Is that correct? Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. And then I feel heard. Oh my gosh, she said exactly what I just said. I feel heard.
Then we have a mutual understanding as well that the exchange that just happened made sense for both of us.
Notice how slow we're going.
Mm-hmm.
We're not in a rush.
Mm-hmm.
We've slowed it down. So what I heard you say was?
I like it.
Yeah.
Stay engaged without speaking to them.
Yes. This is a part of wanting to come up with...
So when I'm doing that, but I'm not...
You're not saying anything.
Ooh, that's hard for me.
Okay.
I always have something to say.
Yeah, I would invite you to try and not interjecting until they're done. It creates that safe space. Okay. You know, we're doing things differently, right? We're doing things differently today. And a lot of that is slowing down, masterful listening. What else? We have staying present.
Yeah, don't try to fix it, which is really difficult for me. Part of why I want to fix it is because I want us all to move forward.
What chair?
How do I get to determine when you move forward, right?
Right? What phase are we in when we just want to move, go, speed, get it done, go, go, go? Next thing. Are we in the child, the adolescent, or the adult?
Well, for me, I'm in the adult, but not the healthy adult, because I just want to move to my next task.
That would be our adolescent.
Okay.
So that's where ego lives, right? In our adolescent phase. We don't have time for this. We need to get to the next task. We've got to get things done because that'll keep us safe, alive, and accepted. We've got to accomplish things.
Safe, alive, and accepted. We talked about that last time.
We did.
Safe, alive, and accepted.
Yeah, so when healthy adult can come in and say, we're going to get it done. Well, there's time. We're going to slow it down. In fact, when we slow things down, everything can get done.
Then we're not so...
We stay out of overwhelm. Yeah. We stay present, right? So staying present.
Yeah. Staying present
as a masterful listener.
I love this one. It's invalidating when we don't listen well.
Yeah, so when we jump in a little too early as a fixer, sometimes it could make them feel like they're broken. When we're trying to fix, they didn't ask for it. They didn't ask for suggestions. They didn't ask for opinions.
You're right, they didn't. Quit offering those up. So the second thing you have on here we can do from our healthy adult is set boundaries. We were touching on this a little bit earlier.
Yes.
I love this quote. I love Brene Brown.
She's great. Go ahead.
This is a good one. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. So heavy.
So heavy, right?
But so good.
God, as a recovering codependent,
We are.
I had to be uncomfortable. I had to be okay with being uncomfortable with others' pain, with them being uncomfortable. Like, no, I said that backwards. I have to be comfortable with them being uncomfortable. And that was a game changer for me.
To change.
It wasn't my energy. It wasn't my conversation. None of it was mine. And so I had to say, that's not what's true for me.
I have to be comfortable with someone else being uncomfortable.
Yep.
Is that right? Here it says, boundaries are simple requests that teach others how we want to be treated.
That's all it is.
It seems so uncomplicated when I read it on here. Like, oh yeah, of course, that's all it is. Keep the program, Celeste.
Well, there's so much there that I wanted to keep it simple today.
Yeah.
And just speak from the heart, from my healthy adult. And boundaries, we're not taught healthy boundaries. We're just not. We're taught survival skills being passed down from family to family, generation to generation.
That didn't have it right either.
No, well, they weren't taught either, right?
Exactly. That's a better way to say it. Because when they're not taught, and then they're not taught, and they're not taught, that's why we keep trickling down all the generation. Until now, it's a new day.
That's right. So boundaries are just simple requests to teach people how we want to be treated. Now, there are two different kinds of boundaries.
Okay.
We have internal boundaries and we have external boundaries. Internal boundaries are between you and yourself. What you have going on inside for yourself. You're going to wake up at this time and that's your internal goal, to take care of you. External boundaries are between you and others. So a healthy external boundary might be, hey, I don't like the way that you spoke to me. Can you not say that to me anymore, please? Or if you're going to share that with me, can you please lower your voice? Or don't treat me that way. So boundaries are not confrontational. There's two different energies here. Healthy boundaries are from our healthy adult. Again, we're centered, we're grounded. We know what we want. We can be firm without attacking, right? Confrontational, a lot of the times there's anger there. And the energy is pushing against the other person. So from our healthy adult, we're not coming to a battle, right? So we need to put down our sword and our shield, and we come from a place of truth and grounded. Hey, this is what it is for me. I would appreciate it if you would respect that. Thank you.
Healthy boundaries are not confrontational.
No. And they're bullet points. Short, sweet, to the point. The more we try to describe a boundary to someone, and this is why I want you to keep this boundary and this and you just go and go, the further out in the weeds we get.
You go away from the boundary and all the reasons why.
And then they're like, wait, well, now what's your boundary again?
What do you need me to stop doing? Celeste, because you just went on for an hour and a half.
Short and sweet.
Unhealthy boundaries.
Yeah, what are some examples of the unhealthy boundaries?
Giving excuses as to why the person did that behavior.
Yeah.
Which can just create argument.
Yep.
Not saying anything or ghosting or stonewalling.
Unhealthy.
Would be a totally adolescent behavior.
Yeah.
Ignoring the hurtful behavior.
Yes.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have healthy boundaries versus unhealthy boundaries. And
how would you recommend we check in with ourselves before we're ready to have a boundary conversation to determine if we're feeling healthy or unhealthy?
Ooh, what do you want the outcome to be? How would you like to see the conversation going? Take a look, feel this out, really. Feel this out. How do I want this conversation to end? In the end, I want to feel respected. I want to be heard and take that moment. You know how we pause before each show and we do this transition minute? We're literally checking in with ourselves.
Yep. And
getting grounded. And then, okay, this is how the conversation is going to go, and I'm going to stay out of the weeds with this.
Okay. So let's talk about the ways to, if we're not in our healthy adult, and we want to be, let's talk about the ways we get back there.
Love that.
Some suggestions.
So once we find our healthy adult, it's so nice and comfy, but then triggers happen, conversations, life happens, and then we get derailed. Yeah. So how do we get back? Love it. The number one way is ask myself, it's like calling in your healthy adult, your energy. You can ask your higher power, God, Buddha, the divine, the universe, whatever it is for you. That's when you're connected to your healthy adult, is when you are in alignment with that higher power.
Your center.
Yep. You can actually call in your healthy adult. Okay, I need my healthy adult right now. I'm going to set this boundary, and I need my healthy adult here. Knowing who your healthy adult is will help you stay there.
Or call it in.
Well, to stay there once you call it in.
Okay.
Because your healthy adult has compassion, has patience, right? Is an observer, is grounded. Knowing who your healthy adult is will help you stay in that alignment once you call her.
Because you can recognize it faster when you go out of it.
Yes.
Like, I'm not being my healthy adult.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and bring her back into the picture.
Yep.
She's, I'm much more functional when she's around.
Why is that?
Because I'm less scattered.
So when you're less scattered, I have a question for you. I love that you said this. When you're less scattered, what are you?
Focused.
So you're focused. And what's the energy that you have when you're focused?
I'm more positive. I'm more aware of others in my environment.
Yes.
When I'm on high stress,
love it.
I'm too into my stuff at the moment, and it's not really the right opportune time typically. So if I can identify, and to your point earlier, I usually stop, super fast meditation, but I ask for my guides to come in and help me.
Love it.
Can I just have a big hug right now? Okay, now what do I need? What do I need to know?
I love that. And you do that from your healthy adult, from your adult. In adolescent, that's not possible.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
I'm learning. We talk about some of these ways, ask, but there's literally physical things we also get to do. Because I'm a tapper, and I know that's on the list.
Yep.
Meditation. Or go to the gym. Like some of those things are really big for me.
That's great. So you already do some of these things.
Yeah. I'm getting more into the breath work, which is also on here.
Yeah. So they keep us physically, the sensations of these activities keep us in our body. And that's when we're our healthiest.
Super cool. Super good.
Right? There's a lot of meditations. In fact, nowadays you can find tapping. The tapping is the emotional freedom tapping or technique. You can find that on YouTube. There's apps, just tapping apps that you can download now. There's Calm, Insight Timer. They have everything. YouTube has some great ones. Spotify, iTunes. Meditations plus tapping. Those guided, sometimes we need that guided because of our thoughts. We just can't quite do it ourselves, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes a guided meditation or a guided tapping exercise to get us back in our body.
For me, it's almost like a redirect.
Yes.
Like we talked about earlier. It's like a rewiring, retraining, rebooting. I'm backing up.
Yep.
I'm letting some stuff go, not forever, just tabling it a bit. I acknowledge it's there, but we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But I hear you, it's there. Right now, I just want to get back to center.
Beautiful.
Get back to focusing, so I can evaluate and make that decision better.
Yeah.
I think it's important to not blow ourselves off from the things that we know we need to talk about with ourselves or with others. Right.
So instead of blowing them off, we say, I'm going to put you right here and I'll be back for you. Right? So we're conscious about it instead of unconscious about it.
I love that. A lot of this definitely has to do with, in general, being conscious, I feel like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So,
is there anything else about this phase you want to talk about?
This is our ultimate goal. This is where we're going in this model. In sessions, I'll have clients do check-ins, and they'll just start talking about their day and how they have been since we last met, and we'll just recognize which phase. Well, are you in the child phase? Are you in the adolescent? How do we get to the adult? And then they get to recognize and get themselves back to their healthy adult by just simply being aware. So check-ins is another one. These transition minutes that we did before we started, that is another way. Going from, say, podcast to a coaching session, we set the transition minute and it gets us back into our body. I do lots of check-ins throughout the day, from meeting to phone call to a text. Okay, after my meeting, I'm checking in. How am I feeling? Oof, I need to go put my feet in the grass for a minute. I don't know what it is, but I need to ground for a minute. And then I can go to the next thing. So I'm just constantly checking in with myself to keep myself in my body.
I think that's a really important lesson. Check in. I told you last time we do mood checks with my team.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting when the whole team has like this morning, almost everybody had an anxiousness. And it was really an interesting dynamic because we were all bringing that into the room and you could feel it.
Really?
And we're coming in from our weekends and whatever else happened or whatever we know we have to get to. And we're a week away from our gala, our largest event of the year.
Oh, right on.
So everybody's kind of tasking out in their mind all the things have to be done. So that, that
Lots
becomes
going
present.
Mm-hmm.
So the check-ins are always helpful. Checking with ourselves, checking in with each other.
One of the biggest keys for overwhelm to come from a healthy adult perspective is to slow things down. Overwhelm comes from our mind, our thoughts. When we can slow it down and be present, we can actually look at objects in the room to slow things down, and then look at our tasks one at a time. What is going to be due first? What's going to be due second? Okay, in this moment, can you do that? Whew, yeah, that feels better. That helps keep us out of overwhelm, slowing it down.
My grandson was at my home this weekend, which is always awesome. But he walked in my morning stretches and he said, "Grandma, that's tree pose." I said, "Yeah, buddy, that is tree pose." So, of course, he's trying to do it, and he's like all over the place, and his arms are up. And he said, how do you stay still? I said, well, first of all, there's a lot of practice, honey. Grandma's a lot older than you. But I find one spot. I said, right now, your eyes are all over. You're looking all over the room. If you can find one spot on the carpet, I bet you can stand still. And he did. And he was super proud of himself. But saying it to him was such a reflection of myself in my brain, because I'm thinking, I can slow it down. I don't have a slowed down life, but I have moments where I can.
That's so great.
So it was like a reminder that, see, Celeste, you can slow down too.
That's so great. What a great example. Focusing on one thing at a time.
So it was really more for me than him, I noticed. But he was like, oh, that's so cool.
But he did it too then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's
3
great.
seconds, but he did it. But he did it was the point.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so. All right, well.
That's it.
It's a wrap.
Yeah.
We have a surprise. We were going to do the 3 chairs, but we said we would have a surprise and talk about all of this with relationships.
Yes.
So I think that's what our next one's about.
Okay.
So stay tuned. How to manage the healthy adult in our relationships.
How to manage a relationship in our healthy adult.
How to manage a relationship in our healthy adult. That's what it will be called.
Or from our healthy adult.
From our healthy adult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a big one. This will be good.
Yeah, and it's any relationship.
Any relation, coworkers, even parents, children. I'm so excited. This is going to be good. Any relationship.
Okay. Well, stay tuned next time, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining me today on the Garbage Bag Girl podcast. always remember, you matter. Please subscribe and share this podcast and visit CelesteEdmonds.com to join my mailing list.